Welcome to the EntrePastors podcast on YouTube. This is a show that helps pastors think, act, and thrive as prosperous entrepreneurs. Well, hello there, and welcome to the EntrePastors podcast on YouTube. I'm John Sanders, one of the co-founders of the show, and we are excited to share this week's episode with you. This is episode number 121, and we're asking the question, is coaching a good fit for me or for you? We see coaching as a really good option for many pastors, and in this episode, we're going to share why that is. We're going to kind of share the upside, if you will, the reasons that we find a lot of our clients attracted to the profession of coaching or building a business around coaching. But we're also going to share the flip side of that coin. There are some things that need to be considered before you just jump into setting up a coaching business. And we're going to get into some of that in this episode as well. Not for the purpose of being a discouragement to you, pastor, launching a coaching business, but to set some realistic expectations of some things that should be in place in your life before you're really ready to go start a business, as well as what it's going to take to be successful in that arena as serving people in a role as a professional coach. So this is myself and my co-founder and co-host Les Hughes having a really great conversation around this topic. Is coaching a good fit for me? We're glad you're joining us. Sit back and here we go. Let's do it. Good stuff. I'm excited about our conversation today. It's been a while since you and I have created content of our own. We've got so many awesome interviews we keep lining up that it's been a minute since you and I have just taken a break from showing other people's interviews and sharing our own conversation. And there's something that has been a bit of a burr under my saddle lately. You and I were kind of riffing back and forth on Voxer.
Been kind of grumpy about it lately.
Well, I don't want this to be. I don't want to come off negative in this conversation, but I'm gonna do a little coaching. I'm gonna do a little yelling, maybe if it lands where it needs to land, then so be it. The title of this episode is going to be, is coaching a good fit for me? And there's some things that pop up on a regular basis, Les, as you and I are dealing with pastors in our community who are reaching out. They're interested in establishing a second, source of income for their family. And for many pastors, coaching is an attractive thing. And we're going to give some reasons why that is. There's some good reason why pastors look at coaching and go, man, I want to do that. Yeah. And we're going to celebrate that. We're going to list some of those because I'm going to encourage you, pastors, to consider coaching as an option for you. But there's a but that comes with this. There's a big old but here, Les. The but is it's not for everybody, or it's not for everybody at every season of life. There's some things that need to be in place. There's some things maybe you need to be looking at in your own life before you hang out your shingle and tell the world that you're going to be a coach. And that's where I get a little frustrated sometimes. And so we'll unpack that. Is that okay?
That's perfectly fine. We like big butts and we cannot lie around here.
Oh, wow. That's
no problem. We'll address that.
I would not have expected from Les Hughes, Dr. Les Hughes on our podcast for pastors.
We'll address that head on. No problem.
Paige, know you talk that way? I love it.
I don't know. She listens. She kind of does. So, all
right, Paige. Well, yeah. I'll keep working with him, Paige. I'll keep straightening him out. So, well, let's do this. Let's just jump right into some of the good reasons. You and I have a list we're working off of here, Les, and I'll just run through these, and you can kind of give some commentary as we go down. Right. But one of the first things that you and I have said often is that coaching utilizes a skill set that many pastors have honed over their time in ministry. Like, we think that coaching is a good fit for pastors just because they've already built that muscle in many cases that coaching requires, whether it's communication skills, the people skills, the listening skills, that ability to kind of get to the issue beneath the issue when they're sitting there across the desk from a couple that's having a, marital disagreement or whatever. Pastors have kind of worked that muscle to where they're kind of naturally fit for coaching. Anything you would add to that?
Just that, well, you're 100% right. And that's the good news. Here's some more good news. And this is a little bit of a misconception by a lot of people, I'd say pastors included, when it comes to what actually coaching is. It's not counseling.
Yeah, that's good.
So the good news about that is a lot of pastors that I know, John, would not consider themselves very good counselors.
Me.
There's several reasons for that. One is because we tend to have along with that teaching gift, there's a prophetic side of that. It's very black and white. And for counseling is not, if people want to be affirmed, that's a pastor might not be a black and white pastor is not the best person to. You're not going to get a lot of affirmation. You're going to say, no, you're wrong, and this is what you need to
Yeah.
do.
Stop it.
But that's not what coaching is, right? Yeah, coaching is more where It was a good day that I even was told what the origin of the term coach and idea is. You and I have spent time being coached on a field or a court, but that's not the origin of coaching. The origin of coaching, is a stage coach whose job was to take a person from where they were to where they wanted to go. And that's what
I
a
did
coach
not know
does.
that.
Literally,
Like
that's
it.
what a coach does. Yeah. It's right. Where do you want to go? We're right here. We want to go there. All right, let's talk about how we're going to get there. That's what coaching is. So it's not a matter of us telling somebody else what the right course to take is. It's helping them achieve their goals and get to their destination.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because I've said that before. I was that pastor for years who said counseling drains me. I didn't feel like I was very good at it. And yet when I got into coaching, I found out I love coaching. I'm
Yeah.
energized by coaching conversations. And the way I've come to say it just very simply is that coaching, generally speaking, is more forward focused. Like, where are you trying to go? I'm going to help you get there. Whereas counseling is more rear view mirror. And they're both important and they both require gifted people to come alongside of someone. Sometimes we need to go back and look in the rearview mirror and go back to that place
Mm-hmm.
of woundedness or wherever things kind of started going off course, and we need to bring some healing to that. And there is overlap. I think sometimes good coaches will help their clients look backwards when need be, and
Yeah.
good counselors will help their clients look forward. But generally speaking, if you're more energized by like, I'm not so concerned with what's in the past, I'm more concerned with where are we going. Coaching is, you're going to be wired well for that. So it's a good distinction.
Yeah.
Something else, another thing we've got on our list, bottom line, let's just talk about the cash. Like, coaching can be a very profitable venture when you do it as a professional, and when you charge like a professional and get paid as a professional, you can make some decent money coaching in very comparable to other professional trades or whatever that industries that are out there. So there is money. And that's why another reason, again, pastors should look at this as a possible way of bringing revenue into your family. Coaching can be profitable. At the same time, Les, it doesn't punish your body. Some of the things we do to earn money have kind of a cost physically, and coaching does not need to be that. So it's something that a pastor can do regardless of their physical strength and health, or maybe later into their later years of life where their physical body's not wanting to go build walls and carry bricks and move stuff and do stuff physically. Coaching is an option for that.
Yes. And an hour for hour, I mean, as far as being a good steward of your time, I was really pleasantly surprised when I learned just how rewarding professionally coaching can be for people with the background that most people in ministry have,
Yep.
and the same gifts and skills that have been developed, over time.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about maybe the timeline of that and what some realistic expectations are. This is not a way to make a ton of money in a very, very short amount of time. So it's not a get rich quick scheme of some sort. But the realistically though, it's very, very, it can be one of the most in the different areas that we work with people in, service based and the knowledge, and that includes coaching and all that. Coaching is one of the most rewarding financially, depending on your level of professionalism and how much you educate and equip yourself to
Yeah.
have, like, for example, to have a coach. We can talk about that too. And then to reach some of those financial goals. I was pleasantly surprised how quickly that could happen using what we already have in our tool
Yeah.
belt, So one of the reasons that can happen is there's also group coaching, that is a part of, including something like a mastermind that gets into a much higher end product than the one-on-one. But that's a way to scale that and really to exponentially grow one's income from coaching. So it's not just hours for dollars. It's there's a way to build something using those coaching skills.
Right. And again, we are on purpose holding up this as a reality because it is a good thing. And we know many people are drawn to coaching because they hear, wow, you can make some decent money coaching. Yes, you can. And again, we're going to get into some of the backside of that coin, if you will. One of them being like you need to actually know how to run the business side of it. And the bad truth, the reality is, we've said it many times before, Les, pastors have been taught in church ministry to really devalue our time. And so we see a lot of pastors struggle to charge what they're worth in their coaching and to charge, because again, it's always, there's been this mindset of, man, how can you charge for the work that you do? Isn't it ministry? How in the world could you put a monetary dollar amount on helping somebody? Because aren't pastors just supposed to help people and make nothing doing it? So we're not really going to go deep into that in this conversation, but at EntrePastors, that's what we help pastors do, is kind of get over that mindset of that it is okay to serve people and get paid well to do it. And so coaching is absolutely a way of doing it. Again, it doesn't beat up your physical body to do it. Here's another good thing about coaching. Another attractive quality is that depending on how you do it, it can be done from anywhere in the world. I mean, literally, as long as you have access to the internet. I don't think I have coached very few people less like in the same room consistently. Most of my coaching has
Yeah.
been done online over Zoom, over
Yeah.
phone calls, that sort of a thing. And so I've coached people from all over the place, from vacation, business trips, my home office, wherever I am. I can stop what
Yeah.
I'm doing and jump on a coaching call and serve somebody. And I don't have to be locked into a 9 to 5 routine in order to do that.
Yeah, same here. And you kind of needle me sometimes because I'm calling you with a beach or a pool backdrop because we're in Florida. We just like to go down there,
I'm not
and we
needling
can
you,
and we
Les.
can do that, and we can do that with this business.
Yep.
So that's intentional. And in our world right now, it's a good thing because it's kind of expected, John, that you're able to do that. And so yeah, that's one of the real pluses. If you're still, especially if you're still heavily involved in vocational ministry, you may have times where you're away. You may be at some kind of gathering for your denomination or for your church, or you may be on the mission field somewhere. But you can literally do this from anywhere as long as you have a phone or an internet connection.
Yeah. And this kind of is just pigtailing off of everything else we've said, but it's something you can do late into your, quote unquote retirement years. I don't really
Yeah,
believe in the American version of retirement, but Les, I do believe, like, if God gives me health and life and breath, that my 70s and 80s will be some of the most impactful years of my life. Like, I still see
yeah,
myself in that season, maybe especially in that season, coaching people, speaking into their life, because I mean, all of the life experience and wisdom at that point to be able to give that away and
exactly,
share that with others. So
exactly.
again, like, I don't see myself being in the handyman space into my 70s and 80s, but coaching,
Mhm.
yes. So
Yeah,
lots of upside to the coaching arena, and we want to be real about that and just come right out and say this is why a lot of people are attracted to it.
it is. And hey, in addition to all of that, pastor, do what you want to do in those years. You don't have to be tied, from 9 to 5 or 8 to 5 to some sort of any sort of business if you don't want to be. But go and go to the golf course or the tennis court or pickleball court or whatever it is that you go to pass the time. Go ahead, but also earn some extra
Yep.
income and supplement whatever plans you've made for your retirement. If you've made some, this is a great way to supplement, to be able to enjoy that season of life and not have to, wring your hands come the end of the month, just hoping that the dollars that you've set aside last that long, or hold your breath about what the interest rates are doing right now on your retirement or your mutual fund. So this is just a way that you've still got some agency in your life and a little bit of say about the income that you have coming in.
Yeah. Yeah, so a lot of upside to coaching, and we want to just be real about that as we kind of lead into the rest of this conversation, because now, Les, I want to turn the corner a little bit, and I want to speak to some pastors, maybe to set some realistic expectations around coaching and what to expect, and maybe just point out some, I don't know if blind spots is the right word, but just some things to be aware of, to be looking at in your own life and go, is coaching a good fit for me right
Yeah.
now in this season?
Maybe
And
some potential potholes somewhere.
yeah, that's a good word. Some potholes, because we encounter pastors on a regular basis. And by the way, let me put this disclaimer out there. If you're listening to this going, I think John and Les are talking about me, we might be, but I promise we're talking
We
about a
may
whole
be.
lot of other people as well. Okay,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
this is a common thing that comes up again and again and again. Why we decided to create some content for it. So I promise we're
Yeah.
not just picking on you. There's no one person that this is directed
Right.
at. This is kind of a composite of a lot of conversations that have gone into this. So here's the first thing that I'm going to throw out there. I'm going to try and say this as nicely as I can, and I want to be fair in how I address this too. We're not saying that you have to have like everything figured out perfectly in your life, and that all cylinders need to be firing on, a 10 out of 10 level in every arena of your life. I don't think any of us will ever actually achieve that. So I'm not saying that you have to have perfection in your life, but what I am saying is this: there should be some degree of growth, success, or accomplishment in your own life that others would desire to emulate. And I'm going to go a little bit further with this lesson, say this. It amazes me, and I'm still blown away by this, the number of conversations that I have, and I know you've had them too, with a pastor who, by their own admission, we just got done going through a long coaching session with this person who's basically said in multiple areas of their life, they feel like they're failing, they're not getting ahead, they're struggling financially, their church is not doing well, physically, their health is not well. There's just a lot of areas of their life where they're struggling. And then when you say, well, what do you want to do? Guess what they want to do? They want to coach other people. And I just want to scream in frustration when I hear a pastor whose church has just dwindled away to nothing. And by their own admission, I don't really have a vision for my church. There's not a lot of passion flowing out of me for this or whatever. And then they want to go tell other pastors and coach other pastors on how to grow a church. Like, that is a huge disconnect. There's a huge discrepancy there. And so if that's you, if you're in that arena, if you're severely obese, you're probably not the right guy yet to be giving fitness coaching to anybody. Like, there's a huge discrepancy there. If you're absolutely broke and unable to pay the bills, this is not a good season to start coaching other people in how to win financially. Les, talk me off the ledge, because one day recently I got on Voxer with you after a couple calls and I was just frustrated. Like, talk me off the ledge here, bro.
Well, we've
I'm
just seen it.
frustrated.
We've seen it from several different vantage points, and you're 100% right. And there are so many different reasons that this is critical. And one of the ways to say it is to just be a lifelong learner and remain coachable and teachable, so that whether it doesn't have to be us, it could be anybody, but if somebody speaks some objective and considerate truth into your life, or points out a blind spot, or maybe an action that you could take, that may be something you at least want to try, or try for a while. And I'll give you an example, John, that some people won't do or haven't done yet, is that I know people personally that are and so do you, high level professional coaches, executive coaches, and they have coaches, don't they?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're smoking what they're selling as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I've heard more than one of them say that if they ever talked to a coach themselves, and we're talking about people, John, that are willing to invest thousands in their personal growth and development. But I've had more than one of them tell me that if they ever talk to someone about potentially coaching them, and the question comes up and says, "Tell me about who your coach is," and they say, "Well, I don't currently have one," they're out.
Yep.
They're out. And I'll tell you something else. When people talk to us about going into professional coaching, almost always there's some resistance on talking about their own prices with people.
Mm-hmm.
That resistance will completely change if they are paying themselves for professional coaching. So it's
Yep.
like, I don't mind requiring this because it's what I've done.
Yes. Yeah, Les, you're hitting on two things that I had on my list, and these are great times just to hit on both of these. First of all, if you want to be a coach and you have not invested into your own coaching, or you are not willing to make that investment, and I know we've heard the excuse 100 times and probably more than that, I can't afford it. I can't afford a coach. Right there, that's something we need to do some coaching around. And and then I want you to think about the hypocrisy in that place of saying, I
Yeah.
can't afford a coach, therefore I'm not willing to invest in a coach for myself, but I'm quite okay asking other people to pay me for professional coaching. Listen, Pastor, if that is where you are not ready to go into the coaching business. You're not.
Yeah.
And that may sound harsh. I'm just telling you the honest truth. I had a conversation recently with someone. I was encouraging them to go get Rich Lidfin and Steve Chandler's book, The Prosperous Coach. It's kind of like it's one of the main books. It's kind of like the Bible in the coaching industry. Like, you need to read it seriously. And he said he hasn't read it yet. So I've heard of it. I just haven't read it. I said, why not? You want to know what his answer was, Les?
Go.
Because it costs $50. Because it does, by the way, to go buy that book on Amazon, they're charging like $50 for that book. And I lovingly, and I like this dude, he's a friend of mine, I lit him up. And I was like, seriously, man, can you understand the hypocrisy in that position? You are wanting other people to pay you to do coaching, and you're not even willing to go invest in a book
The
that's
first
$50.
person that those conversations that you learned about in that book would lead to a coaching arrangement, it'd pay 10 times that.
Yes.
They would pay over the lifetime of that relationship. They'd probably pay 10 times that or more.
Yep.
Just,
And so that's just it's a non-negotiable. If you are not
yeah.
willing, and if you don't have a track record, by the way, of and I'm more than happy. I haven't done it. I could sit down and add up with a pen and paper the number of thousands of dollars that I have
Oh,
invested
yeah.
in my own coaching, and same with
Yeah.
you.
Oh, my. Yep.
And I
For
would I
sure.
would share that absolutely with anybody. So I'm not asking you to do something that I have not done myself when we challenge our clients to sign up for a coaching program. The other thing that you kind of mentioned that was on my list too is just that you're coachable. So like, we sometimes have conversations with people, with clients who want to argue for their limitations. And what I mean by that is, no matter what action step you might suggest to them, or hey, what if we tried this or that, they're quick to have a reason for why that will not work for them. The yeah buts. Well, yeah, but I tried that, or yeah, but that would never work. And all I'm saying is this: if that is your posture, if you have a posture of being uncoachable, you are not fit to be a coach. We need to do some inner work on your own game before you're ready to actually go coach someone else. And so that's another thing that comes up from time to time.
It's a great point.
Go ahead.
I used to be in a mastermind group with a high level coach, really, and a good one and very successful. And it, inevitably there'd be somebody, usually a new person in the group, if they had really tried a lot of things to sort of get some traction in whatever venture they had, inevitably, because first of all, we exaggerate, but also because we want to express our level of frustration, somebody would say, I've tried everything to get this thing going. I've tried everything in this business. I've tried everything to publish this book. I've tried everything to, et cetera, et cetera. And you could just tell the people that had been in that group would smile at one another, Riley, because we knew what was coming, because he would say then, without fail, have you really tried everything?
Hmm.
And then he'd let that marinate for a minute. And always they would admit, well, I mean, not literally everything. And there you go. No, you haven't tried
Yeah.
everything. And even if you have, maybe it can be done a different way. Or maybe the timing wasn't right.
Right.
Just because something didn't get the results that you wanted at a different time doesn't mean that it won't get some better results now.
As I hear you saying that, Les, my mind goes to that story in the New Testament where Jesus tells the disciples who've been fishing all night, throw your nets in again, throw them on the other side. And again, it would have been very easy for them to be like, we've been there, done that, tried it. There's nothing out here. And yet they were coachable, and they received that. Now, obviously there's some supernatural stuff going on in that story as well, but the principle's still there of, if you're not a coachable person, you should not be setting yourself out as a coach, because again, there's a huge hypocrisy. There's a disconnect there. I'm not calling you a hypocrite. I don't think you're consciously thinking through this. I'm just wanting to point out what's happening. The reality that's happening at a subconscious level is that you're asking people to do some things that you yourself are not doing and are not willing to do. And that's a very difficult place to
Yeah.
sustain and build a business from a successful business of coaching.
Yeah.
Something else I've got on my list here, Les, is that you need to be growing in your own ability to like coach yourself. And now that might sound like a contradiction to having a coach, but because we all need a coach, even good coaches need someone that's objectively kind of on the outside looking in. Having said that, we also need to be growing in our ability to kind of strengthen our own mental game and coach ourselves. Um, I can promise you who I am today at 45 years old is a lot mentally stronger than who I was at 35 years old. I have grown in my ability to coach myself and to think about the inner conversation that I'm speaking to myself. And that there's a strength in that, and that
Mhm.
needs to be happening. And again, I see this sometimes with pastors who come to us who are just discouraged, defeated. They've been through the ringer. They've been kicked in the teeth pretty hard,
Yeah.
and they haven't quite. They're wounded, maybe, or they're just in a place of like, you need to be strengthened for a season and really kind of develop some of that inner strength before you're really ready to start charging other people for that service of coming alongside and helping them in that arena. What say you to that?
I think that's a great point, very valid. Part of the positive thing about having a coach is that they're for you,
Mm.
but they're not looking into your life just to be critical. I coached my sons little league baseball for several years, and one of them in particular really struggled because I would be what I would call coaching, you know, where I would see things that he could do much better to keep from making mistakes or whatever. And he made a statement one time like, "You're just always getting on to me, or you're just always critical." Well, what is a coach supposed to do? But it's to help them get better. It's to help them achieve their goals. And so it may not even sound like it sometimes, but you got to keep in mind that coach is pulling for you. They want you to be successful, because if you're successful, hopefully that says something and is a reflection about of their coaching as well. Your
Sure.
hard work, but they're seeing some things in your life that could help or could improve as well. So it's just another thing. A coach's job is just not to affirm you or tell you how awesome you are, but if you're doing some things that are right and they're going to take you to where you want to go, they're going to say, "Man, keep doing that. Do it more. Throw gasoline on that one right there. That seems to be working."
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, that's good. Here's another thing as we're moving through this conversation is because I see this as well sometimes with pastors who want to coach, is that outside of their church congregation, they don't really have a lot of influence with people. They're not really leading people. I believe all pastors are leaders. I believe that, and they should be. But here's what
Effective
I
ones
would
are.
say. Yeah. Here's what I would say. If you want to be a coach, here's a question that I want you to consider. Do I have regular proven influence in my life? Is it a pretty regular thing for people to be reaching out to me asking for my input? Can I run something past you? What are your thoughts on this? If that's not happening much other than what's coming from your role as a pastor in your own congregation, I would challenge you that we might need to slow down on setting up a coaching business. Um, in my life lesson, you can kind of share your story, and this is where this might sound a little discouraging. I'm not saying to pastors that everybody has to go start a podcast and run it for many years before you can coach. But I know this, that for in my life, I started a podcast and faithfully poured into that and served a community of people for years before I ever hung out a shingle as a coach. And also because of the value that I was adding and the shepherding I was doing of that community through my podcast, I started to have many pastors reaching out, wanting to have conversation and asking, "Hey, can I run something by you? Can I get your thoughts on this or that?" Again, I didn't know I was coaching in those years.
Yeah.
So when I decided to become a coach and like actually professionally start charging for the work I was already doing, there was an orchard that had been planted, if you will. This is a metaphor someone shared with us recently. I can't remember who said it, but they compared like being a hunter gatherer for the day or an orchard, whatever you call someone who has an orchard. Like you plant the seeds that grow trees that bear fruit, and that's a long game. The
Yeah.
hunter goes out and finds something today to kill and bring home. But coaching is not a hunting and gathering sport.
Mhm.
Coaching is an orchard thing where you have to have planted some seeds and given time for those seeds to grow, and then from that fruit begins to come. And so
Yep.
I'm just gently saying to our audience, if you do not regularly have people seeking out your influence, coaching may not be the right fit for you right now in this season.
Would start making those deposits, start planting those seeds now.
Yes,
If you haven't been doing that, there's lots of ways that you can, but just start doing it on a gradual basis. Get in some
absolutely.
groups, get around some people that you can listen to. Just listen at first, and then you can get permission to share your insights.
Right. And again, I think, Pastor, here's where I want to encourage you is that you, by nature, are probably someone of influence if you're doing it right. If you're being effective in ministry, you have what it takes. It's just maybe if you've only been planting seeds inside your church congregation, I don't recommend that being the primary pond that you fish from when you start a coaching business. I think
Yeah.
there's a word of caution there. I'm not saying you could never, ever, ever coach someone that is sitting in your church. I definitely don't think that should be your primary marketing group. That should be the exception,
Yeah.
probably not the rule, in my opinion. I didn't read that in the Bible, but I just think there's probably wisdom in what I'm saying there.
Yes,
So,
that's right. I agree.
um, here's one more, Les, unless you can come up with anything else. Here's one more thought that I want to share. And bottom line is this, Pastor, if you are in a place right now where you need finances, quick finances, and like you're feeling the pinch, um, coaching is probably not the best option right out of the gate because rarely do we see coaching turn a quick profit. Like Les said, you said earlier, it is not a get rich quick thing. And anybody that tells you it is or can be probably is just trying to sell you their course on coaching. And you should proceed with caution because can coaching be profitable? Absolutely, 100%. Les and I are here to say we have been there, done that, and tasted the fruit of that. And it's great fruit. I love coaching. I love getting paid well for having powerful conversations with people. I didn't build it overnight. It did not happen quickly. And so here's what happens, Les. If I don't know if you've ever experienced this, I have, because I've shown up needy at times in coaching conversations where honestly, if I'm being truthful, my bigger focus was can I make a sale in this coaching conversation instead of coming to that call with curiosity, with this posture of like, I want to add value first. I want to serve first. I want to really get into my potential clients, world and see how I can best serve them. When it's like, man, I need this sale. I need this sale. You show up a little clingy. You show up a little needy. Maybe you're a little bit hesitant to be bold and to say things that need to be said from a powerful coach, but you're more worried about having someone like you and buy from you, and so you kind of tiptoe through a conversation because you don't want to risk offending somebody. Well, when you've got the financial margin and it's like, I don't need this client to put groceries on my table, I can just show up service first, curious, and man, I'll be bold in my coaching. And it's interesting. That's a much more attractive quality in a coach than someone who's just trying to make a sale.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right on there. And you know what? There will come a day, I mean, Lord willing, there will come a day that you can just coach someone and offer that out of your generosity and not need that income and do it from a place of generosity. You can still do that, charging and doing something just because you want to serve someone and don't care about anything being reciprocated. They're not mutually exclusive. You can do both of those depending on the circumstances. But one that is doing it for profit will give you the ability and the freedom to do the other, which is just doing it as a gift to someone.
Yeah. Yeah, very well said. And by the way, this would be a good spot just to announce this real quick, Les, and then we can transition to wrapping things up here. Um, I've got a call coming up on this coming Monday as this show releases on Friday. Monday, December 18th, 2023 at 1 o'clock. I'm going to be offering a free call to anybody in our listening audience. You don't have to be a part of any of our paid communities. If you are in our Facebook group, which we're going to tell you about in just a minute, how to join our free Facebook community, this is where all the details will be for this. But here's what we're going to talk about on that call. I'm going to talk about some service-based options for making money, because there are things you can do when you're in need of quick money. Like, man, I got some bills we need to get paid. I need to make money quickly. Coaching is not where I would suggest you look for that money. We can help you get to the place where you're making decent money as a coach, but it's not going to be quick. There's some other things. If you're willing to pick up a paintbrush, if you're willing to haul some junk for people, if you're willing to mow lawns, if you're willing to, sell things on Facebook Marketplace for people, if you're willing to do small repairs, handyman type stuff, like there are some low cost service-based businesses that I would say go do that first. Go make some money. Go ease the strain of that financial tension. Get some margin there. And then we can look at the long game of building a successful coaching practice. So anyway, if you're at all interested in having a conversation, that's all we're going to do. I'm just going to kind of share some of my journey there, answer questions that you might have, hopefully give some ideas to inspire you down that road, and maybe some action steps that you can take. If you're in a place of like, I need money and I need it quickly, great. Coaching is not the way to do that. So
You want to give that,
go ahead.
day and time again one more time?
Monday, December 18th, 2023 at 1 p.m. And the details are going to be in our EntrePastors Connect Facebook group. Les, this would be a good time just to tell them where to find that. If you want to tell us, how do I join that group?
Yeah, you can go to Facebook and search EntrePastors. It might come up then, but if not, just do EntrePastors Connect, and it'll probably come up there in your feed, and you can go and request to join. It'll ask a few questions just to make sure you're a real person. So if you don't mind, just answer those questions. Give us your email address if you would, and then you'll be in, and you'll receive all that information and invites to things like John's talking about. Be careful. There is a paid group. So if a members group comes up, if you want to join the members group, that's a subscription type deal. But that goes along with our Pastors Leadership Network. So that's all that information is on our website. But if you want the free group, just do EntrePastors Connect, please.
That was a Freudian slip on Les's part. He said Pastors Leadership Network. We don't call it that. That's Les's.
No, we don't. It was a big slip. Sorry about that.
That's okay. It's Pastors Business Alliance is part of EntrePastors, so totally fine. Just, yeah, EntrePastors Connect is the group that you're looking for there, and we try to post some things of value in that group, just like this. We're going to do this free call that hopefully adds value to anybody that's in the group. So come on in and be a part of that. And by the way, Les, as you were talking about, asking them to answer those questions, we won't let them in the group if they don't answer the questions. So we want to know that you're a real human being with a real identity before we let you into the group, because we want it to be a safe community where there's not a bunch of spamming going on. And also, if you get in the group and you want to be mean, you're going to find yourself outside the group real fast. But so far, we haven't really had to deal with that. But just letting it be known. Sometimes I've heard that groups of pastors on Facebook can turn into some real divisive, snippy kind of places, and we will not host such a place.
Not us.
On the internet. So
there's enough. We deal with enough of that.
Yep. So anyway, guys, as we wrap this thing up this week, here's what I'm hoping we accomplish with this content. I don't want to discourage anybody. I want to hold up the carrot, if you will, of like, this is a good thing to pursue. If you're energized at the thought of being a paid professional coach, we say, yes, it's possible. It's good. There's a lot of reasons to desire it. However, there's some real things to consider before jumping into it. And we say this because we love you, because we care about you. We don't want to see you get frustrated. And we see a lot of pastors struggling to get coaching practices off the ground. And I think if they would take an honest look at some of these things that we talked about in this episode, they might go, not yet. I'm not ready for coaching yet. I need to invest in my own coaching, need to develop a little bit of my own influence that's happening, and just some of these things. I need to develop some income so I'm not, broke and needy going into these conversations, all of the things we talked about. So hopefully this has been an encouragement, and for some, maybe just a little gentle kick in the pants that you needed. So how'd we do, Les? Did we do okay with that?
I believe so.
All right. Well, hey, thanks for watching this episode of the EntrePastors podcast. Make sure you hit that subscribe button so you can be notified every time we release a new episode. If you'd like to get connected to other pastors who are learning to think, act, and thrive as prosperous entrepreneurs, then we invite you to check us out on Facebook. Just search for the EntrePastors Connect group, answer a few of our simple questions there, and we'd love to include you in the conversations. And if you're really ready to go to the next level, then we invite you to join our EntrePastors membership community. When you become a monthly subscriber, you will receive access to courses, exclusive community, and coaching that will help you along in your own EntrePastors journey. If there's anything else we can do to serve you, please visit us at EntrePastors.com, and we will do our best to serve you there. God bless everybody. See you soon.